You're welcome to Finovo's monthly free webinar. And as I've been early introduced, my name is Ayomiko Oreoluwa. I'm a senior legal advisor in Finovo Systems Limited, and it's very good to be hosting this webinar today. If you can all just encourage me with reactions in the emoji section, I'll really appreciate it. Welcome to our webinar once again. Thank you all so much. Thank you. So the topic for today is legal challenges and solutions in the fintech industry. The first thing I would like to say is that this is just an informative webinar so that you would be able to, if you're in the fintech industry, you'll be able to understand the legal challenges, how it can be solved, how the challenges can be resolved, maybe by the government or by you personally. We're going to get to all of that during the course of the webinar. This webinar is going to be very informative. And if you have any questions after this webinar, you can also ask them in our WhatsApp group. I believe most of you are there. If you are not there, the link to the WhatsApp group will also be posted in this I believe in the chat section of this webinar. So stay tuned because it promises to be an exciting webinar. First, we need to know what the overview is. We need to know about the speaker, which is me, and I believe that my colleague has done justice to that by introducing me. And secondly, you need to know what financial technology is. So I didn't get all of that. Then the fintech regulatory framework in Nigeria, challenges with existing regulations or regulatory frameworks, then suggested interventions, then conclusions and Q&A section. In the Q&A session, you would get to ask any questions that you might not have understood during the course of the webinar, or if you have any concerns, you can put it there, or if you have any suggestions for us, you can also put it at the end of this webinar. So about the speaker, we've already covered that. This is my picture in case you don't know what I look like. And let's proceed. First, fintech, which is a short form of financial technology. It means integration of technology to carry out transactions in financial secretary services and operations industry. The category covers banking, mobile payments, lending, digital wallets. I'm sure many of you know about fintech. One of the examples of fintech, which everybody knows, is Kuda. I know many of you know many more. If you can give me examples of fintechs that you know in the comment section, please. Examples of fintech, anyone? Just so I can know that people are actually listening to me and they can hear what I'm saying. Can I have some examples of fintech? Okay, OPay, yes, that's correct. We also have PalmPay. We also have Paystack. We have Paga. We have Remita, VoguePay. Many of you use many of these apps every day. Now you can see it has become an integral part of the financial services sector, which have made money management easier and faster. Nigeria hosts over 200 fintech providers such as Flutterwave, InterSwitch, Paystack, some of the ones that you've mentioned. And fintech has actually made our life very, very easy. Instead of having to go to our traditional banks like GTB, Access Bank, Fidelity Bank, or whatever bank that we use, instead of us to have to go into these traditional banking halls to carry out our transactions, you can actually do it from the comfort of your homes. Is that easy? Before COVID, before Corona, it was very difficult to carry out many transactions. They will tell you, oh, if you are doing transaction over 500,000, or if you are doing transaction over 1 million or whatever, you have to enter the banking hall. Like, it was such a normalized system that every time you need to do maybe large transactions, or every time you need to do some certain types of transactions, you just need to enter the banking halls. But when COVID happened, it taught so many of us new and inventive ways to carry out our banking transactions. Now, they existed before Corona, or before COVID, before 2019 and 2020, but people were not really using it because, well, many of these apps were not as well known as they are now. And then we had to work from home. We had to stay at home. We had to do everything that we needed to do in the comfort of our homes. So banks had to strategize and think, oh, what are the easier ways to make banking more accessible to people, even people on the streets, even people that do not even know how to fill forms online, physical forms. How do we make this thing accessible? Then banks like OPay, Kuda, they started operations, and then they deliver your cards to you physically, or you can open your bank app, just use your phone number, and then you have your account number, and then you can carry out transactions from your house. And it just made our life so easy, like very, very easy, that you can do all of these things from your phone. And that's what the fintech space is all about. It's all about easier, simpler ways to do our transactions. This is a very very important part of our daily lives. But if you are going to enter the fintech industry as of today, it is very difficult because there are so many things that serve as barriers to these industries. And there are so many things that I believe both the government and people working in the fintech industry can actually do to make life easier for themselves. Now, investment in global fintech in 2020 was over 100 billion and is expected to grow in 2021. So you can see how much from the period of COVID-19 till now, how much the fintech industry has grown, and now it has even become an integral part of our everyday lives. Okay, the rapid growth of fintech has strengthened the belief that fintech would disrupt banking, but collaboration and not competition would advance the interests of banks and fintech providers. Now, I need everybody to think back. Maybe if you're using what bank is this? I think Cowrie Wise. They have a collaboration with Fidelity Bank, if I'm not mistaken. This will just make it easier to have like a stake in a main traditional bank, so that if you need to carry out actual traditional transactions, then they can do it, they can route it through all of these banks. So collaboration has made it easy for all of these fintech companies, which may or may not be small, depending on what your definition of small is. So they may or may not be small, but it's making it easier for them to carry out transactions by collaborating with our normal traditional banks, be it GTB, Access Bank. Some of these small banks actually collaborate with them to manage their accounts, to give them some kind of insurance and all of that. And it has even strengthened these traditional banks because these collaborations, there is a win-win situation for both traditional banks and these apps. So it makes life much more easier for both of them to be able to collaborate and be able to exceed their expectations in terms of finances and all of that. So the major challenge with the fintech space is lack of clarity in policy and legislation. We're going to get there shortly. I'm going to explain how this really affects the fintech space shortly. So the fintech regulatory framework in Nigeria. There's a wide range of regulators that govern fintech providers in Nigeria. Some regulators have broad jurisdiction and others focus on specific activities. The following is a list of Nigerian key regulators with which fintech providers have to register and comply. The first is the Central Bank of Nigeria. We all know CBN. CBN is the Central Bank of Nigeria. I know I'm just repeating it, but it just means that this is the major bank that controls all of the banks in Nigeria. This is the bank that regulates all the banks in Nigeria. So whether a traditional bank or just an online bank or just a financial technology services company, they are all under the regulation or under the purview of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Now, the CBN has made regulations that impact fintech in Nigeria. These regulations include guidelines on mobile money services in Nigeria, guidelines on international mobile money transfer services in Nigeria, guidelines on international mobile money remittance services in Nigeria, among others. I'm sure you can see the list. This list is not exhaustive as there are so many other laws that they've created in relation to banking and banking services. Other regulators include NITIDA, which is National Information Technology Development Agency, NCC, SEC, Corporate Affairs Commission. Well, if you're a company, whether you're a fintech or you're not a fintech, whatever what type of company you are in Nigeria, as long as you're an organization or a company, you have to be under the purview of the Corporate Affairs Commission. Then we have the FIRS, which regulates tax. Then the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment, the National Office for Trade Acquisition and Promotion, that is NOTAP, which is usually probably in charge of trademarks and all of that. Then other laws are Value Added Tax Act, CAMA, which is Companies and Allied Matters Act, Money Laundering Act, and so on and so forth. There are many laws that govern the financial industry space. Now, these are the laws, the major laws that govern the financial industry space. There are many other laws, many other regulations that govern it. So it's a non-exhaustive list of these laws. The challenges with existing regulatory framework. The first challenge that I feel like is very important for us to know, which is one of the challenges that affects the fintech industry the most, is barrier to entry. Barrier to entry. Now, under the guidelines for mobile money services in Nigeria, anyone applying for mobile money license from CBN must have 2 billion naira as a shareholders fund. That's roughly like $6 million. Now imagine that a small company, I don't know what company, let's use Ayomikun Fintech organization. I have a certain amount of money, and then I decide, oh, I have a banking app that can send money to the moon. I'm just exaggerating, but I'm just saying like it's an innovative new thing, something that nobody has ever done before. And I say, oh, this is what I bring, this is what I want to do. I want to start sending money to the moon. And then this is a new and innovative idea that I have, and it can probably benefit everybody in the long run. It will be of a large advantage to everyone that uses this app on their phone. And then they're asking me to bring 2 billion naira to be able to start up my fintech organization in Nigeria. I just feel like it is so outrageous, because this would discourage even investors and people from saying, oh, I want to start a fintech organization in Nigeria. I believe that this is actually done because the CBN wants to make sure that anyone that wants to enter the market does not want to like swindle people out of their own money, or maybe it's as a form of insurance to make sure that if anything happens, if the organization doesn't have enough money to stay afloat, at least this their share capital will be able to cover up for people that have their money in their account, for people that are doing business with them, or people that have invested in their organization. I understand that perfectly. But this also discourages investment in our country, so to speak, because anybody that sees that they'll be like, oh, why would I spend 2 billion naira to be able to enter the banking space? And I'm not even sure if I can get that ROI in a year or in 2 years. So, like, what is the major point of doing this? Now, I'm not saying people don't have that money, but I'm sure that you've seen that since the CBN issued that directive, it has been, I don't think you've seen any new bank that just comes out now and then you're seeing them all over the TV and then you're like, wow, this new bank. No, it's already the existing ones like Kuda, Pay, all of them that are there. They also needed to, as at the time the directive came out, they also needed to find ways to get more investors and then be able to get that money to be able to have that share holding of 2 billion naira. So this is a major challenge with the existing regulatory framework. Second is absence of a holistic and unified legislation. As you've already seen, these laws are many. There are so many of them. You have I'm sure you remember what we just saw now, the Central Bank of Nigeria, see all these laws under just the Central Bank of Nigeria. Then you have other regulators and you have other laws that also apply to the fintech industry. You need to understand that these laws are so many. The agencies and departments of government that regulate fintech are just too many. It leads to cumbersome regulatory requirements, processes, and procedures. Imagine you want to register your company now, your fintech company now. After you've looked for 2 billion naira, let's assume that, oh, you have that 2 billion naira sitting somewhere. The next thing you have to do is now to think, oh, which place am I going to register next? Okay, let me register with the CAC. After I register with CAC, let me register with FIRS. After registering with FIRS, let me register with SEC. After registering with SEC, let me register with CBN. Under CBN, you have to think of, oh, under what part of CBN am I registering under? Am I going to be a PSSP? Am I going to need an IMTO license? Am I going to need they are just different licenses that you have to obtain to be able to operate in the fintech space. You have to do your trademark, you have to register with TIDA, you have to register with this one. There are just so many. And it's so difficult because well, let me say if you have a legal practitioner, it might make your work a lot easier, but we're going to get to that. But if you're just a normal fintech organization that wants to enter, you're just a startup that wants to enter Nigeria, and then you see all of these laws, you see how cumbersome they are. They are not put together. It's not as if they will tell you one day they can just wake up and just see that, oh, this organization is doing well. They've not had this license, they don't have that license, they've not registered with this place, they've not registered with that place. It is really frustrating because you get overwhelmed and you start thinking, what exactly am I supposed to do? How exactly am I supposed to register? What am I supposed to do about this and what am I supposed to do about that? It just makes it very difficult to say, oh, I'm a fintech company and I want to register in Nigeria. The next we have is consumer protection. As fintech services expand, ensuring consumer protection becomes critical. Challenges include fraud and security risk. This is one of the biggest risks when it comes to operating a fintech organization. Nigeria, according to what I read online, Nigeria is number 3 in cyber fraud in the world. Do you know what that means? I'm sure many of you know what Yahoo is. Even babies that they just gave birth yesterday, they know what doing Yahoo means. because it is so rampant in our society. And then somebody can just call you and just say, hello, this is Mr. So, 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 and so, calling from First Bank Limited. Can you please tell me your BVN? Or this is Mrs. Something, 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 calling from, I don't know, whatever bank you use. And they will tell you, oh, can you please give me your date of birth or something? And then they get this information, especially for people that are not so well educated, which is so many people in our society, whether we choose to admit it or not. And then they just call them and then they ask them for this information innocently, thinking that, oh, this is my bank that's calling me and there's a huge issue that needs to be resolved. I'll give them my information and just tell them, oh, this is my BVN or this is my date of birth or whatever it is. And the next thing you know, you're receiving alerts and money is leaving your account. And there's nothing you can do about it, except maybe you rush and you call your bank. But by that time, some of your money have already gone, or most of your money has already gone. And before they'll be able to track this money, sometimes one bank will tell you to go and bring court order to be able to track your own money that is in your account that they know that somebody fraudulently removed from your account. Let me tell you the story of one of my friends. He he had a transaction on his phone. I think somebody hacked into his account and they removed about 200 and something thousand from his account. When they traced the money, he went to the police. Imagine you're paying police, so he went to the police to help him track who took the money from his account. They helped him track it to another bank account. He went to the bank. The bank said they can only block the account for 24 hours, that he needs to go and get a court order. This guy spent over a month trying to get a court order just to be able to get his money back. After I got that court order from the bank, from the court, and he went back to his bank, the bank said, oh, even though you have the court order, the person has spent all the money, he made 30 something thousand. Just imagine how frustrated you would be when they just remove your money for no reason and you have little to no recourse because of how slow this banks or the system is. And there's really nothing you can do about it. So many people think, oh, hey, if I go and use Kuda, or if I go and use OPay, or if I go and use PamPay, one of these fintech organizations, it's very easy for people to steal my money. I will not do. Let me just go back to my GTB or whatever bank generally. But the crazy part of that is also that these consumer protection issues are not limited to fintech industries alone. I can say it's more rampant in the fintech industry, maybe because it's so easy to open accounts. But even at that, it is still one of the biggest issues that fintechs face. Sorry, I'm seeing somebody raising up their hand. You have a question. Please, if you have any question, just hold on till the end of the session and then you can ask the question in the Q&A session. Thank you. So let's move on to the next issue. Data privacy and security. With increasing amount of personal data being processed, data privacy and security have become pressing issues. Everyone knows what data privacy and security is. In Nigeria, even all around the world, organizations do not have the right to share your personal information with anybody. If you read the terms of use of maybe Facebook or Instagram or even some of your bank apps, they'll tell you, oh, I consent to sharing my data with this person. My bank agrees to not share my information to any third party, except with the prior consent of the customer or except with my prior consent, just to make sure that your data is not processed without your consent involuntarily. So there are these laws like NDPR, that's Nigerian Data Protection Regulation. It imposes strict obligations on data handling, and non-compliance can lead to STFs, which just means that all of your data, they have to make sure that it's stored securely. No external person has access to it. Nobody can just access your data anyhow. Like like one time that they said they were selling Facebook information, like your data, your login details, they were sharing it with a third party. And some people actually got FT compensation from that. I think it was a class action that they did, that they were able to get their money back from their money, what their data's money was from Facebook. And even though it was a cumbersome process, at the end of the day, they could get it because there are laws that protect your data. That means that like your data cannot be shared, it cannot be processed without your prior information. But it's also very difficult in a country where it's very easy for people to hack into your systems and get your information and all of that. It is draining when somebody outside just calls you and says, "Oh, are you so so and so person?" And the person already has your full name, your account number, and then the only thing they need from you is maybe your BVN. Imagine somebody calls you and says, "Oh, I'm from," let me assume you're using maybe Access Bank, I'm from Access Bank, and your name is blah blah blah. They tell you your name, your account number is so 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 and so, and then they ask you for maybe your date of birth to confirm something in their system. It is very believable because you'll be like, oh, this person really knows me. This person has correct information about me. So they definitely know what they are doing, or this is definitely my bank calling me for this specific information. So I believe that that also would make it very difficult for people to trust these banks and difficult for people to even want to put their money inside these banks. Next, you have cross-border operations. As Nigerian fintechs look to expand internationally, they encounter challenges such as navigating different jurisdictions. Navigating different jurisdictions just means that if you are a Nigerian bank now and you want to open, not even really open, you need to have a license to be able to do transactions in maybe Ghana or Uganda or in South Africa. You need to know their own laws as well. You need to make sure you comply with their laws. You need to make sure that there are so many things that you need to make sure that you do. And also, if you are not even a Nigerian bank now, imagine maybe, okay, let's use PayPal for example. An organization like PayPal does not have a Nigerian branch. Why? Because before they can penetrate into the Nigerian market, it's not just about their popularity. It's not just about people that would register or that will sign up for their apps. No, it's also about knowing our laws, the laws that will apply to them when they want to start up these organizations, the ones that they have to comply with, the registrations that they have to do, the licenses that they will have to obtain, the foreign exchange regulations that apply to them specifically. That's why you see that many international organizations don't have branches in Nigeria. They don't, because they know that, oh, this country, if you go there to go and register, it is a very cumbersome process. They have so many laws, they have so many rules, so many regulations that come with registering as a financial services operator in Nigeria. So it's very discouraging too, because of all of these laws, to say that, oh, I want to register as a financial services company in Nigeria. Finally, for me, is corporate governance. The absence of robust corporate governance framework poses significant challenges, potentially exposing these ventures to operational risks and ethical dilemmas. And without clear guidelines, there are likelihood of mismanagement, regulatory non-compliance, inadequate risk mitigation. And this is just very, very difficult too, because it's difficult to navigate all of this in Nigeria. So next, let's move to our suggested intervention. The first suggested intervention is an introduction of a fintech bill and a fintech regulatory body at the National Assembly. Now, why this is very important is because if there's a fintech bill, if there's a fintech law, if there's a fintech regulation specifically for this industry, then all of these laws, all of these regulatory bodies, all of that will be in a precise and concise document. All the information will be available to every fintech organization that wants to work or operate in Nigeria. What it just means is that it will make it very easy for you as a fintech organization to just say, oh, let me just go to this fintech law and go through it and see, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is my first step. This is my second step. This is my third step. In the Companies and Allied Matters Act, which is for companies in general, it has laws relating to every type of company in Nigeria. Like if you want information on how to register this business, the amount of shareholding you need to have, the amount of directors, age of directors, what is making directors disqualified, what qualifies a director, how you can remove directors, winding up, every single thing, every single information that you need about companies is in the Companies and Allied Matters Act. So what we are now saying is that if there can now also be a fintech law, a fintech bill that will regulate the financial technologies space, it will make it very easy for organizations or companies to say, oh, I want to register in this country. Okay, what do I need? And then you just go to that law and open whatever section is there and just be like, oh, okay, this is what I need. This is what I need to register. This is how I need to go about it. If I don't have this, I can't do this. If I don't have this, I can't do this. And your life is just very easy. But as it is that we don't have all of these laws, it just makes everything so much more cumbersome, so much more complicated than it actually needs to be. And it is very stressful. So the focus of the government should be on creating a business-friendly environment for fintech providers and not only revenue generation. We further suggest that government should establish a financial services regulatory agency of Nigeria, which should be dedicated to regulation of the fintech section. So the way we have a corporate affairs commission, we're also saying that we should also have a fintech regulatory body, so that at least if we want to register fintech, we know that we're going straight to fintech office to go and register. The way you know that if you want to do taxation, you go to FIRS office. If you want to do company registration, you can go to CAC office online, because I don't think they allow people in their physical office anymore. Or if I want to do construction, I know where to go. If I want to do whatever sector I want to go into, I know where to go. Then we should also have that kind of sector we should also have that kind of body for the fintech industry, so that if there's anything that I need to do regarding my fintech company, then I go to this place. I go to this specific place, this specific office, to go and do the registration of whatever I need to do. So it's very important that a fintech body and a fintech regulatory bill is passed, so that it can make lives easier, or the life of these organizations easier. Second, we have strengthening consumer protection measures. To enhance consumers' confidence, fintech firms must prioritize consumer protection through transparent practices, clearly outlining terms of service, fees, and rights can help build trust and reduce disputes. Most of us, when we want to register a company, or I say register, when we want to register on a on any platform, they will ask you, do you agree to Do you agree to these terms and conditions? And we will just scroll down to the last place and just click, yes, I agree, and move on. And I feel like this is mostly because of how cumbersome all of this information is. It's not broken down in plain and simple English for people to understand. For people to understand what you are saying, they just put all of this information there. Most of it, you see big English, and you be like, what are these people actually trying to say? And then who has time to even be reading? Me too, as a lawyer, it's very difficult for me to say I want to sit down and be scrolling through tons of information on the site just to know my rights, just to know my what I'm entitled to from this bank. I'll just click okay and I move on. So my point is that if they can make it very easy, break it down so that consumers can know their rights, and then it will make it it will make it easier for people to trust these banks, and they will know that, oh, okay, this is what is applicable to me. Now, I think OPay, if you open their app, they are writing there that each account is insured to the tune of 5 million naira, which is what most banks do now, which it just simply means that if OPay decides to close down tomorrow, if you have less than 5 million naira in your account, you collect your money easily. If it's not more than 5 million, no, they'll find a way to pay. Even if they won't give you everything, they'll give you most of it. But if you have less than 5 million in your account, you are insured. You know that your money is not going anywhere. You'll be able to collect that money. And they wrote it very boldly so that you can at least understand what this means to you as an individual using their bank for your transactions. And I believe that that's even a very great thing to do, because it will build trust of consumers in this industry, like, oh, or in this bank, like, oh, I know that if anything happens to OPay, I'm getting my 5 million naira. And it's in simple and clear terms. So what reason do you have to doubt it that, oh, if anything is going on, I get this amount of money back from my bank? So I believe that will also strengthen the consumer's trust in your bank. Secondly is robust complaints mechanisms. Establishing effective channels for consumers to report issues can improve satisfaction and compliance. Let me tell you something that happened to me. When I had issues with my bank, I'll not say the name of the bank. I had issues with my bank and I tried to reach them. Like, I went on their sites, I went on my app, I went through so many different ways. I felt like via email, I sent them a mail. I tried to call their number, it wasn't going. Sent them a mail, I didn't receive any response. Went on their app, opened there's this thing that they do, chat help. I opened the chats, whatever, sent a message. I did not receive any response. It was until I opened Twitter and sent them a message on their page before they say, oh, kindly send it DM. So I'm now like, okay, this is because I have Twitter to open. Imagine other people that are not even maybe educated or that are not even on Twitter, that tries to call their number and they want to even hear their grievances that this is what's going on. Or maybe they're even trying to block their account. They're even trying to call and find out, oh, this is what's going on in my account. Can you fix this for me? And then you have to go through all of that stress just to reach them regarding your own money. It's not as if they borrowed you money to put in that account. Your own personal money. And you can't reach them. And there's nothing you can do about it. It is so frustrating. And tell me how you, as an individual, would have trust in such a bank that you cannot reach when you have issues with your account. I believe that's just gross misconduct. And most of the banks are actually guilty of this. So, as a fintech organization, if you can make your dispute resolution channels very effective in such a way that if people need to reach you, or if people need to make complaints or even suggestions, it is very easy. They don't need to go through the stress of, oh, let me have to enter the banking hall and go and make complaints. And the truth is that most of these fintech organizations, they don't have offices everywhere. Some of them just have one main office, maybe in Yaba or on the island. Imagine me that I'm staying at maybe Aja and I have to go all the way to VI. Or imagine I'm staying at Ogudu. Even let me not even use in Lagos. Imagine I'm staying in Ogun State. And then I have to go all the way to Yaba because I want to make a complaint. I don't feel like it makes any sense. I'm now thinking about it that, well, instead of me to do all of this stress, instead of me to go through all of these problems, let me just keep my money in my colo or put my money under my bed. Or worst comes to worst, I'll take it to a bank that is very close to me, a traditional bank. And obviously, if I don't have trust in my bank, there's no way I would use my bank. Most of these organizations actually thrive on trust. If you're a business person too, you know that trust is one of the core values that your organization or your business must have in order to keep or to gain more customers. So they need to make better complaints mechanisms. Next is investing in data, comprehensive data security protocols. Comprehensive data security protocols, like hiring cybersecurity experts to make sure that these protocols are in place. People cannot hack into our system. People cannot do this. Just to make sure that people's data and everything is protected. Next, hiring compliance officers in startups. Now, it's like hiring a dedicated compliance team, or even just one or two compliance officers that know what they are doing. Maybe one lawyer and maybe one accountant, or one. Well, I believe that lawyers are very important in fintech organizations, especially corporate lawyers. So you need to have like maybe one lawyer and maybe one. It can be an accountant. It can be somebody that is vast in the financial services space, just to make sure that these people, that they know what they are doing, they can guide us and tell us this is what we should do regarding our company. These are the things that we should do regarding our organization. And finally, consultation with legal experts. Now, these experts, they may be a part of the organization, they might be your in-house lawyer, or they might be an external lawyer that knows what they are doing, that they can guide you, they can tell you this is the way to go, this is how you go about it. Finovo has a lot of people that are professionals, both in the fintech space, accounting space. Well, you know me, I'm their legal counsel in the legal space. These people can help guide you and tell you what to do regarding your fintech, or maybe if you just want to start up your fintech, you can actually guide you on how to go about it, the laws that are applicable to you, and the things that you need to do to make sure that your fintech is standard, is up to date, and to ensure that your customers have trust in your organization. And that way you can even get more customers and you can retain old customers. And I believe that when you get customers and you retain old customers, your organization would expand and you get more returns on the 2 billion naira that you put as your investment in your fintech organization. So I believe that these are the things that can make your fintech much better, or that can make your fintech very strong. Yes, very strong. That can make it standard. That can make it a great organization, and people would want to invest in your organization, because it's not only your customers that are investing. People outside too might also invest in your organization. Conclusion: the fintech industry in Nigeria holds immense potential for economic growth and financial inclusion. However, addressing the legal challenges it faces is crucial for sustainable development. And I need you to understand that. That's why we touched on the challenges and solutions, not only in the government aspect now, but things that you as a fintech organization can also do to make your organization better, to make it the standard, to make it much more appealing to external people, and to make sure that you build confidence in your industry. So by proactively engaging with regulators, enhancing consumer protection, implementing robust data security measures, and seeking legal expertise, fintech companies can navigate the complexities of Nigerian markets. Embracing these solutions will not only mitigate risks, but also foster a more resilient and trustworthy fintech ecosystem, like I've already explained earlier. So all of these solutions can actually help you to better interact with your clients, to better make your organization improve, make it standard, and also make your organization very appealing to external investors and your customers alike. So, do we have any questions? Any questions, suggestions?
Thank you so much, Ayomikun, for this very insightful webinar. I have learned a lot, and I believe our attendees too have learned one or two things. So if you have any questions, please make use of the Q&A section to type out your questions. But before that, I want you to react, to appreciate our speaker for today, show our reactions that we really enjoyed our webinar. And then you can, our WhatsApp link for the Finovo Academy is on the question and answer section. You can use that to join our account, our academy. And then our personal WhatsApp is also there in case you need to reach out to us privately. So we are waiting for your questions. We are open to taking any questions on this webinar. Thank you.
Just have about 3 or 4 minutes for questions. So if you cannot ask any questions yet, you can also ask the questions on the group, and I'll be sure to attend to you. Let me also send my email address on the Q&A section, so you can send me a mail in case you need to reach me.
Okay, the email has been added to the Q&A section in case you need to reach out to her. It will be easy for you to reach out. Then our group also, don't forget to join our academy to get more updates on our upcoming webinars as soon as possible. Like, you'll be among the first people to get updates on the upcoming webinars. So we have 2 more minutes for taking questions. And if you don't have anyone to ask now, like she said, you can always ask on the group. She will definitely attend to it.
Okay, so I can see a question which says, even though there are not a lot of laws guiding fintech in Nigeria, are there any regulations that are already in place? Yes, I already answered that in the beginning of this webinar. I believe that the presentation will be sent to the group and you can actually go through it. In the beginning, I talked about CBN regulations, NITIDA, SEC, CAC, and so many other regulations that govern the fintech space. So when they send the PowerPoint presentation to the group, you can actually go through it and see there are so many And that's one of the issues that we discussed and we preferred a solution to in this webinar. Thank you very much.
Yeah, before I forget to mention, the recorded version of this webinar is going to be sent to the academy, the group, and then the slides too will also be sent to the group. So you can go through it as many times as you want after it has been sent and ask all your questions. Some questions that you even want to ask are already answered. So when I send the slides and the recorded webinar, you can just go through them. Thank you so much for joining this webinar. We really appreciate you for attending, and we'll see you in our next free webinar series. Make sure to join the group to get updates as soon as possible. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Ayomiko, do you want to say something?
Yes, thank you all so very much for joining this webinar. It was really exciting and fun to host everyone. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for your reactions and your questions. Have a wonderful weekend.
All right, thank you. Bye.